This episode of Movie Lover is really special to me. It was recorded, I don't know the exact date, but it was August of 2019. So it was recorded a while ago while I was still living in Maryland. And I had over one of my best friends to talk about Scott Pilgrim versus the World because it's one of our mutual favorite movies. And it was just, it felt highly appropriate to have him over to discuss it with me. And because of that, this is actually a really long episode. It's well over an hour. And so then because of it, though it was the actual first episode of the podcast that I wrote and subsequently recorded, I knew I didn't want the show itself to be an hour long per episode. So I decided that this would be the season finale. This would be the big closer of the show. So thank you for listening to it. I so appreciate the time that you've given to hear me talk about movies. And in this one episode, to hear me and another guy just jaw about this ridiculous, fun movie. So thank you. And thank you for enjoying the first season of Movielover22. Welcome back to Movielover22, where all your movie dreams come true, a la Willy Wonka. This week, we are talking about Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, based on the graphic novel by Brian Lee O'Malley. The movie was written by Michael B. and Edgar Wright, and directed by Edgar Wright. I'm joined by my friend Brian. Hi, Brian.
Hey, how you doing, Steven?
Doing good. So first of all, let's go to our messages from last week's episode. We have no messages. Is this your favorite movie?
I don't actually know what my favorite movie is, but this is in the top 5.
Top 5?
It definitely is.
What company does it share?
It shares Fast 5. Yes. It shares Enemy of the State.
Okay.
Tremors, and maybe Monster House, just because.
Maybe Monster House? Oh my god, what? You're a dork. It's great. It's on my Netflix.
So much puberty.
Yeah. That's great. I thought you might say Fight Club, but you did. I get it. You do have to have another fun, goofy comedy on there.
Well, I mean, all of those are silly at some level, except for Enemy of the State
is not silly whatsoever.
No, and which is funny because I usually like horror movies and things like that, but I don't think I have a horror movie that I'm not even sure if I have one in my top 10 that I like. I don't know. I'll have to look through.
Anyway, this movie is incredible.
Yes.
And honestly, we could end this episode right here, but
lame.
But we have to talk about it. There's so much going on in this movie. We kind of have to keep on talking about it.
I do want to say before we start that you were the one who introduced me to this movie.
I thought so. I wrote that down, and I think was that the day I made mac and cheese for you, and it was terrible.
It may have been. So you thought that all cheese was similar to Velveeta, where you just add milk or water, and then you have a cheese sauce.
This was a long time ago.
So you served me this bowl with basically 3 different things in it: noodles, melted cheese, and then cheese water, because the cheese did not.
I'm adding more cheese.
Mix in.
But
True.
You thought it was too watery. I think that was the main discrepancy.
No, it wasn't mixed. It was 3 separate things in a bowl. It was like ramen.
Yeah. But it still tasted good.
I guess.
Persnickety.
Sure.
Anyway, yeah, that was a fun day, though. It was a fun day. And you're welcome. Not for the mac and cheese, but maybe for this. So, the plot of this movie follows 22-year-old Canadian, because that's important, Scott Pilgrim, from his announcement to his bandmates that he's dating a 17-year-old Chinese girl, to falling for an American girl, Ramona Flowers, and the discovery that she has 7 evil ex-boyfriends.
Evil exes.
Whom he must defeat in order to date Ramona. and we already talked about your background with the movie. So let's jump into the making of. So Scott Pilgrim was originally created by O'Malley when he attended a Plumtree concert, was invited backstage, and the band has a song called Scott Pilgrim that they played for him. You'll know the song. It's in the movie, and there's the lyric in it, "I've liked you for 1,000 years," and he liked that and began developing a character based on that name. And so
I think I had notes about that. Was right before he broke up with her, right?
It's a couple scenes before. This is when he's like,
this is at the very beginning.
I've never even kissed a guy. That's okay.
Neither have I.
Yeah.
So
I think we held hands once. So that's how Scott Pilgrim came into be. Plumtree, of all things.
Okay. And I assume, so this is just like an alternative band, or like even in like an indie band that... Yeah.
Like,
that's so cool. Because that's really like the whole basis of this like alternative indie scene, and kind of making it fictional, but like at a higher level. It's crazy. It's awesome.
All right, so it's just crazy to me that it came about because of Plumtree of all things. Didn't even, I'd never listened to Plumtree. Interestingly enough, the first issue, because this was released as a graphic novel in 6 volumes over time, the first issue was so successful that the movie rights were grabbed almost immediately. So before volume 2 ever came out, so the movie was actually developed alongside the graphic novel.
Oh, wow.
So Edgar Wright and Michael, whatever his last name is, they were writing it with that guy, just about. And so there's a few exceptions, but for the most part, the movie is really similar to the graphic novel. The biggest exception is the ending. The ending is different because the screenplay was finished before O'Malley finished writing the graphic novel.
Yeah, I've thumbed through the graphic novel once or twice, and I've never bought it because I thumbed through it and I'm like, oh, this is like word for word from the movie, so why do I need to... Because usually when I watch like a movie based off of a book or something, before I read the book, I'll be like, oh, I really like this, and then want to read the book, because usually there's a lot more in the book than there's in the movie, and you kind of get deeper into that story or even like the characters and stuff than you would with the movie. But not this one. This one, like you said.
A lot of musicians contributed to producing the music for the soundtrack. Most notable, Beck and Metric, I think. Including original songs. Beck wrote Ramona. Metric wrote Black Sheep. Though, in the movie, all the songs are sung by the actors, if they're not just pure soundtrack. But on the soundtrack, almost all the songs are performed by the original vocalists, except stuff like Sax Bob-omb's music, which is performed by Mark Webber and Michael Cera. And I have to say this, Brie Larson's version of Black Sheep is so much better than Metric's.
Really? I have not heard. I'll have to... Well,
Brie Larson plays... So the version in the movie is her singing.
That part is awesome.
You're saying you haven't heard Metric's version.
I haven't heard Metric's version.
It's not that good. But
no, that when she first started, that's the song she sings when their band is Clash of Demon Head starts. I love that scene.
They're much better live. You should
hear them live. I have so much about that character too.
Good. Also, Edgar Wright actually wrote a letter to Nintendo for permission to use music from Zelda in the dream sequences, writing that the music was like nursery rhymes to a generation, and they said yes to that. And I really love that. This man is a nerd, and who better to give permission to?
There were like too many times. You're fine. Where they would play one of those songs, and then I would just like have a flashback to playing Zelda. It's like, oh, this is that. This happens there.
Yeah. So Scott Pilgrim actually bombed at the box office. It ended its opening weekend in 5th place, and it made only $47 million against a budget of 85 to 90.
Here's the question: who else was playing when it came?
Oh man, I should have looked that up. I totally forgot. Well, in contrast, though, the movie that Edgar Wright made before this was Hot Fuzz, and that cost $12 million.
Wait, how much did Scott cost?
85 to 90. So
12.
that is.
Oh wow, half. Or less, or
85 million.
Oh, 85.
Yes.
Oh, I was thinking 8. Shoot, my brain's broken.
Yeah, but what a difference of like a budget. Like that's huge.
It's crazy.
But what I like about that situation is that under normal circumstances, a studio would give up and not do it again. But Universal actually put out a statement afterwards saying that, of course, they're disappointed that it underperformed, but they were really proud of the movie and said that they were really happy with Edgar Wright's vision, and down the road, it would be considered an exceptional piece of filmmaking.
Oh, it definitely is.
Yes, but no one ever speaks highly of studios like that, so that was really cool.
That's right. I mean, there are so many movies, like, if they don't perform well, like when they in the box office and they go over budget, they're always like downplayed. They're like, oh, this is horrible. Like, one movie that definitely fits all those categories, but I like the movie, Waterworld. And yes, it's a joke. It's kind of a joke of a movie, but yeah. So what does this say? That like this does hit all those levels of not a impressive movie, but then still they turn around and go, well, we're still glad we did it.
Yeah. However, once the movie hit DVD and Blu-ray, it sold $3 million in the first week of its release.
First week.
Yes.
That's crazy.
Yes. The more I think about it, I really can't see this movie being made today. It's almost 10 years later. It came out in 2010. I don't think Hollywood would make this movie now. I think it's too mainstream and nerdy for a studio like A24.
No, that's the thing. It's not mainstream, and that's why it's not.
No, but what I mean is like A24 does like weird and mysterious and artsy, whatever. This doesn't fit in there. I think if this got made, it would have to be like Kick-Ass, where it would get turned down by studios. He would say fuck it and make it and then sell it to a studio. I don't think a studio would make this picture now. The exception being Netflix, and they, I think, would ruin it. I don't trust Netflix original movies very much. I'm very skeptical of them.
I mean, I've watched a handful and I haven't been disappointed, but I haven't watched any like remakes or like, I almost want to say covers of
Is there a difference? I don't think so.
I know of movies, but yeah, I don't know.
I think it was made at the perfect time. Right when we were getting old enough to appreciate the movie being made, and now
it was 2010, right?
Yeah.
So 2010 was like the end of that genre of like music being popular, like the alternative rock and kind of like the indie rock and things like that.
Sure.
That was it was almost like the perfect time to say our goodbyes, which I'm still mad not back. But yeah, it was like a good eulogy, if you will, to the music of that era.
Yeah. This was written and directed by Edgar Wright, who famously directed the Three Flavors Cornetto trilogy, which is Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, and The World's End.
Love them all.
Yes, as well as his latest movie, Baby Driver. This man has never made a bad movie. He's a genius and would be on my top 5 directors list if it existed. Like he's one of the guys who takes
the art of filmmaking and makes an entirely new style, almost a new genre, all on his own. He's wonderful. I mean, he's done a bunch of different genres. He did horror, comedy, action, thriller. Like, he's so good.
He mixed a lot of them, too.
And he mixed them flawlessly. And Scott Pilgrim is his weirdest film to date. It's unlike any other, and it stands tall on its own, and that's just awesome.
World's End is pretty weird.
Yeah, but World's End is not a comic. World's End is just aliens.
Well, see,
this is video game reality.
So the other day, Faith and I were watching that movie with friends, and they never heard of the movie, and I didn't say anything. And so we start watching the movie, and they thought it was just a movie about, like,
dudes drinking.
Grown-ups, like, drinking, reminiscing about the past.
I wish.
And then they got into a fight, and they start breaking open these people, and they're bleeding blue blood.
Wow.
We have blood on our hands. It's more like ink. We have ink on our hands. But
I'm sorry.
it
no
really
one has
messed
come up with anything better than smashy mashy go-go machines. And that's not the quote, but it's good enough. Good enough for this. I haven't
the
seen
blanks.
It. Yeah. Smashy. Oh man, that's a great movie.
That's another episode right there.
It really is. The writer Michael also wrote both Jump Street movies.
Oh.
And Project X, which I don't think anyone cares about at all.
I have not seen it. I don't really see a reason to watch it, but...
Exactly. It never really said anything. It's... whatever. And he's been in a bunch of movies. The ones that stood out to me were Inglourious Bastards and Free Willy. So...
Oh, wow.
What a mix.
Yes.
Yeah. And the movie was shot by Bill Pope. He's one of the more mainstream cinematographers. He did Clueless, Matrix, Spider-Man 2, Army of Darkness, Baby Driver, World's End, Darkman, and most recently I think was Alita Battle Angel. So he's had some pretty big credits on there. He's done a fine job. Mm-hmm. And let's go on to the cast. And we have a shitload of people to talk about.
Oh, I was realizing this yesterday watching this.
Everyone and their sister is in this movie.
And I love how even some huge big name actors, they throw them in, but they have such like small roles sometimes.
Do you know why? This movie, it doesn't feel like it, but this movie is actually before they were that famous. Like, Chris Evans was not that big when this movie came out. Like, the biggest thing he had done to date was Not Another Teen Movie.
Wasn't he in you probably never even saw this. The Perfect Score?
Kind of sounds familiar.
That was the movie where the teenagers try to steal the answers to the SATs.
You've told me about this movie before, but like a year ago.
Yeah, it's one of those movies that like no one remembers when it came out. I only remembered it because I was a teenager. I wanted to hang out with friends, and so what we did was we went and watched movies, and this is one of the random movies that we went and saw. I liked it.
I'm proud of you, buddy.
Well, thank you. Yeah. But back to the people. Anna Kendrick. I love her character is one of my favorites. But one of my favorite characters in this is definitely Kieran Culkin.
Yes. Okay. Yes. All right. So first we have Michael Cera as Scott Pilgrim. Edgar Wright had Cera in mind to play Scott for a couple years. Because he saw a couple episodes of Arrested Development. And I love Michael Cera. I used to hate him, kind of like Jesse Eisenberg, because everyone he's just that awkward guy. But I can't help it because, number one, he's perfect in everything, from Superbad to Juno. I love Superbad. I was late to the Superbad game. I watched it for the first time about a year ago, and I loved it.
I still haven't watched it.
Really? Oh, it's fun. And I'm also one of the 17 people who saw Nick and Nora's Infinite Playlist and one of the 4 people who liked it.
I mean, it's on my list, but another movie I haven't seen. So, like, kind of reverse way back to when you're another movie. That might be the only movie that is similar to Scott Pilgrim is the Infinite Playlist, the
Only because it's heavily music focused. Other than that, I don't think they have many similarities. He doesn't have to fight anyone.
See, that's the problem with movies. If they're not all heavily music based, unless they're a musical, and we don't want musicals.
That's fair, I guess. Yeah. All right.
So I was recently listening to a podcast. Can't remember the name of it, but basically they watch movies and talk about the villain and kind of talk about how the villain was wronged in the movie or whatever. And they started talking about Scott Pilgrim and how he's kind of a douche. And like this whole time, rewatching it, I'm just looking at all these instances where Scott is literally the worst.
Yeah.
I mean, in the very beginning, when Knives comes over to their house when they're practicing, and she comes in, he goes, "Let me help you with your coat."
Yeah.
And he grabs it and then turns around and drops it on the floor. And there's a coat hanger, like, right there. It's like, are you kidding? Or, there was one time they were talking, and Knives starts talking about, I guess, Clash of Demon Head and how much he likes it. And then he cuts in and goes, "So you were saying about me?"
Yeah.
It's like, really?
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he is kind of the worst. As Kim says, you are the scum of the earth. Yeah, thanks.
Did I say scum? I meant salt.
No, it's
or salt. Oh, I said it backwards.
I jumped to the end. Yeah.
Lame, Steven. Yeah, and I feel like that's kind of like the movie. Like at the very end is when he really, oh yeah, I'm a piece of shit.
Mm-hmm. Like, there's not many positive. Like, he's funny, but he's a dick, and he's not willing to put his feelings aside at the end of the movie and sign the deal. And I don't know if I would have either, given his situation, but you know, he was willing to screw over the other two people who did not have anything to do with his squabble. And yeah, so that
I mean that's an interesting aspect to the whole. Signing over, or I mean signing to a big label, and then I mean the who's the guy who's the lead singer?
Mark Webber.
Yeah.
Stephen Stills.
Yeah, Stephen Stills. He is like so desperate to get this contract deal. Like he like throws everything into the trash just to get this deal. Mm-hmm. But then, like you said, there's also Scott Pilgrim, who's like, oh, I want to be whiny, so I'm not gonna support the band. So it's like it's a balancing act of terribleness.
Yeah.
Everybody sucks.
Yeah. Next, we have Mary Elizabeth Winstead as Ramona Flowers. She's chosen some real hit or miss movies. She was the lead in 10 Cloverfield Lane, which was amazing except for the last 5 minutes. She also starred in the really shitty prequel to The Thing and Live Free or Die Hard, so someone needs a new agent. Also, she was in Swiss Army Man, which is a very inventive movie. I really like it, as well as Sky High, The Spectacular Now, Death Proof, fuck that movie, Final Destination 3, and The Ring 2. Pretty good actress. A lot of bad movies. Yeah, and she's kind of a dick in this movie as well. She's pretty cold, a little standoffish, and kind of unreadable at times, which dude irks me.
One of the best lines that she says that kind of like puts her character into perspective is, where was it? Oh, it was I dabble in being a bitch, or something along those lines. Yeah. And it's true. In like Scott brings up, he goes, "Have you dumped everybody you've been with?"
Yeah.
And that's where she says it. She goes, "Well, I dabble in being a bitch."
Yeah. I like Mary Elizabeth Winstead in general, and I think that might be the one reason I like Ramona Flowers.
Well, the other thing about Ramona,
she's an adult.
The only thing about Ramona Flowers, or the one thing about Ramona Flowers is that she's confident in who she is, and so that's what makes her more likable. The fact that she knows that she's done these things, she doesn't want to do it in the future, and she's trying hard, but she's not going to promise you anything.
Yeah.
And then, like, another aspect of that is the whole hair color changing. Is because she doesn't know. She likes to play it on the edge. Go with the wind, see what happens. And
yeah. Next, we have Jason Schwartzman. Gideon Graves, and I love him. I love him in everything from the Grand Budapest Hotel to Saving Mr. Banks to Fantastic Mr. Fox, and that was when I realized those are the only things I've seen him in, and I love them all.
Yeah, I haven't, like, his face is extremely familiar.
Yeah.
But, like, looking at his, like, the movies he's done, I haven't really watched most of these, so I'm not sure why I recognize his face.
He's just been around, I guess. But I like him in this movie a lot. He's good at being your fake friend, basically.
He is.
Hey, guy. It's... Hey, no need to freak out. No, I just spilled hot cocoa all over my crotch. It's...
or when Ramona leaves with him in the limo, and he's like, sorry about the whole evil exes thing. I was in a bad time. So no hard feelings, right? All right, let's go.
Yeah. Woo! Yeah. My other favorite line from there's two. There's one that's just kind of fun where he's like, because the acoustics in here are amazing. And then when he's about to die, and he's like, how long it took me to put together the league and get together all their contact information? Like, 2 hours.
Yeah. Like, how?
A lot of effort, bro.
Well, see, that's something else I wrote down that kind of, like, stood out to me. Not just his character, but there's a lot of other characters where, 2 hours in their mind is a big chunk of their lives. I forget where else it stood out to me, but yeah, there was another part where it's just like, wow, these people are really petty.
Yeah. Yes. Moving on, we have Ellen Wong, who plays Knives Chow. I've only seen her in Scott Pilgrim, but she does a great job as the bright, high-spirited high school romantic. Apparently, she's also in Glow.
I haven't watched it yet.
Okay, I knew one of you had. I didn't know if it was you or Andrew. But that show looks super boring to me. So, sorry. Not sorry.
Okay.
You have anything to say about Knives?
That character evolves so much in the movie. It's really crazy. One of my favorite scenes is when she was when Scott broke up with her and she decided she was going to start dating young Neil. And I have like a whole list of just like the things she says while she's like dyeing her hair.
I literally can't hear anything.
Yeah. I love when she goes, I didn't even know there was good music till like 2 months ago. And just that whole scene where she's getting all worked up, and then you go from that to the very end where she's like, Scott, chase after her. Yeah. That's what you've been fighting for. And how she's like cool as just being friends with him. I mean, it might be little too large of a gap, but also you kind of think of when there is hardship or when people come against like hard times and strife and stuff, when they're together when this happens, it kind of builds that relationship. And so the fact that they had to battle Gideon together kind of made her mature very quickly.
She and Scott kind of share an interesting parallel arc there. you know?
That is true. They were different. They were different types of immature.
Yeah.
And they maybe at similar levels, and then they did kind of change at the same time. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, they both made a lot of similar decisions. You know, he went with Ramona and she went with young Neil. Albeit very briefly.
But we don't know if she stayed with him. The movie didn't say that, which I was thinking last night. I wish I knew.
We can probably assume that they didn't, because at that point she was mature enough.
Because she's too cool for him.
She's too cool. She's too cool for school.
That's a line at the end. I'm too cool for you anyway.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that line.
You know, she matured a lot, and I think, honestly, she's almost a hero of the movie. And they both have that they both have a simultaneous bit of closure at the final fight, where they fight together, like the same ninja stuff as well.
That is cool. Similar to when they were playing the arcade game when they were dating.
Exactly.
It was like, oh, we could do this together, but it has a slightly different meaning. It's friendship, and that's maybe all that was before.
Yeah.
It's stronger now.
Yeah. Next up is both of our favorites, Kieran Culkin as Wallace Wells. He is an absolute star in this movie. He has nothing but great quotes, and he's fucking hilarious. He currently stars in Succession on HBO, which I like but haven't kept up with.
Oh, it looks really good.
And it's a lot of like quippy humor, but it's kind of dry. Like, it's not laugh out loud. We'll check it out.
Yeah.
And also, he was also in the Home Alone movies, the first ones, alongside his brother Macaulay. Number one, I love the name Wallace Wells.
Why is that?
Alliteration. That's it.
Oh.
It's just so catchy. Wallace Wells.
Well, it goes with the character, because the character has so much of this, like, it's, I guess some of it is, or maybe a lot of it is cliche, but it's executed so well that you don't even care.
No, it's so good. And like, kick him in the balls. Like, this
kick her in the balls.
That's just so good.
I love that.
Hey, do they rock or suck? They have not started playing yet. That was a test. You passed. And he does a little finger that like he circles like that. He's so perfect. So perfect. I love it.
And I feel like that whole that scene you were just talking about, the first battle at the bands, and is so important to his character, because he starts hitting on this guy who who's with Scott's sister, and he doesn't even care. But then by the end, they turn around and go, well, tell your gay friends that I say bye. And she goes, gay friends, and turns around, and Wallace is making out with her boyfriend.
Well, that, honestly, one of the things I love about that is later in the movie, they kind of address it. It's like, I didn't make up the gay roles. Like,
if you have any problems, take it up with Liberace's ghost. Oh, I love that.
Oh, man. Yeah, he's great. Great.
I love him and Scott's living arrangements.
Oh yeah, you're totally my bitch forever. Like,
well, no, just the fact that they share a bed.
Yeah.
Scott is straight, Wallace is not, and then Wallace has other men sleeping in bed. I love that time where Scott is talking to him in bed. Wallace sits up. And like responds to him. I can't remember exactly what was said. And then another guy comes up, and then a third guy comes up. The third guy being the boyfriend that he stole from Scott's sister at the beginning of the movie.
He's kind of a perfect character. Like, all the comedy is so suited for him. Next up, we have Anna Kendrick. Is really early in her career with this movie as Scott's sister Stacy. Normally, I like Anna Kendrick. She's wearing on me now. We're 10 years into her career, And at this point, she's typecast as the funny, quirky, messy girl in any comedy ever, and it's bad. It was fun for a few years. She did great movies like Up in the Air and 50-50 and End of Watch and Scott Pilgrim. And then she did Pitch Perfect. Now, I like Pitch Perfect.
Oh, yeah, me too.
That was the beginning of her downfall. Because now she's the Pitch Perfect girl. That character is now her franchise. And it sucks. I am legitimately a little mad and sorry.
It could have been worse. People could have remembered her for being in Twilight.
It's true. It's true. It's true.
And she has spoken out about how she is not happy that she was in those movies.
That's fine. So is Robert Pattinson, and he's amazing. You should watch Good Time. It's a great movie. Also on Prime.
Okay.
But I'm a little mad and kind of sorry that I took us to go see Pitch Perfect 2 only to sit through that shithole of a movie.
Oh, Pitch Perfect 2?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it wasn't. And there are one or two scenes that I love, like the throw up scene is actually hilarious, but it's gross as shit.
I hate that. That's not in the second movie, that's in the first movie.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Well then never mind, the first movie's great.
Yeah, the first movie is great and really watchable. Second movie, some of the music is pretty good. I like the German team, that's about it.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, cover of Muse, that's what it was.
And Fall Out Boy. And All I Do Is Win. Is good. I don't know how. Anyway, Anna Kendrick's character is really great in this movie. She has, I think, maybe 10 lines, if not 11.
I don't know. She's talking so much in this movie. I love the fact that she is like the queen of gossip. Like, all she does.
Don't you have something to do?
Right. I need to send out a mass text about all this. But I like, and that is like the core of her character. What I really like, so there's a scene where Scott comes back from, I guess it was a date or something, and he's talking to Wallace, and he's like, and Wallace starts the conversation. Can we, instead of a girl, say
yeah.
Oh, that's right. This is before he dates Ramona and he meets her at the party.
I met a girl.
I met a guy.
Yeah.
She's really cute. He's really cute.
And I was like, yeah, there she is.
There he is. So I love that because then out of nowhere he gets a call from his sister and goes, "You're dating 2 girls." He goes, "What? No, I'm not. How'd you hear that?" Wallace. And he looks over. Wallace is passed out.
He's not even awake.
And then again, where she kind of shows like her queen of the gossip. And the other thing is she is trying to give him sound advice, but it is like.
But she has other priorities.
Yeah, it's other priorities definitely. Is near the end when I think it's right before the final fight scene. So Ramona breaks up with him, and he's sitting on the swings outside, and his sister is sitting there, and they're having this like heart to heart. She's like, "Was she really the one?" or something like that, and then after the conversation ends, she gets up and then starts talking to somebody on the phone. Goes, "Yeah, I know. Oh my god, I can't believe it."
It's so pathetic.
So pathetic, yeah. And you just assume that she's talking about Scott. It's like, wait.
Yeah. Next, we have Mark Webber as Stephen Stills. I haven't seen him in much. I can only think of Green Room with Anton Yelchin.
Who was he in that movie?
He was the skinhead who switched sides.
Oh wow! I didn't even recognize.
Yeah. I really like Stephen Stills. He has some pretty great lines. My favorite might be a gig. Oh my gosh. A gig is a gig is a gig is a gig. That's really, like, I want to put that, like, I want to get that tattooed. Like, it's such a good line type of thing.
I like when he goes, is she going to geek? Yeah. And she goes, Well, I don't know. Well, no, I want her to geek. Well, she has potential to geek.
She has the capacity to geek. I really like. All right, from now on,
I know what you're gonna say.
no more talk of girlfriends, whether old, new, or new. And how young Neil
and then young Neil goes,
new. That's really I like him a lot. He doesn't have a big role, but it's big enough to make.
Are you kidding? I think it is a big role. He's the glue. He's the backbone of the band. And if Scott wasn't in a band, then this wouldn't be a movie about music.
That's fair. I take it back. Kieran Culkin doesn't have a big part, but you're right. Mm-hmm. Next is Alison Pill as Kim Pine. I know her from Goon with Sean William Scott, one of my favorite comedy actors ever, as well as the sequel to that movie. And she was in Hail Caesar. I can't remember who she was in that, but that's a great movie. Not much else. In my research...
Wait, which character? Kim. Oh, Kim, yes. Yeah. Oh, I love this character.
So, random thing. Did you ever watch the Redwall cartoon? From, 2002?
No.
She was in that.
Oh.
But, that's kind of a random fact, kind of like knowing that Steven Crowder was the brain in Arthur when he was a kid. It's just kind of a random fact. Kim is great. Actual salt of the earth. Kind of funny she was inadvertently describing herself. I love Kim. She's great.
She is very... Well, it's funny. She doesn't want to deal with BS, but she is full of BS. Oh, it is great. What was it? When I think she first met Ramona, and she's like, yeah, Scott and I used to date. Mm-hmm. And she goes, what is it? She goes,
any stories?
And any stories? Yeah, he's the worst. Or is there,
he's an idiot.
He's an idiot. Yeah.
She is superbly. Her tone is superb in this movie. At the end when she goes, "We are Sex Bomb. We're here to sell out and stuff."
As she's scratching her eye with her middle finger. Yes.
And then later, when he has to go back and do it, he's like, "We're here to watch Scott.
We're Sex Bomb. We're here to watch Scott Pilgrim kick your teeth in."
Yes, and it's great. She's great all over the place. Hey, Scott, you should totally go talk. Not that I care, but you should totally talk to your girlfriend before she leaves.
Oh,
thanks. Not that I care.
Yeah,
it's she cares without caring.
She does care, and it's another thing similar to Knives Chow, where eventually they become friends again, and even though I guess she's technically friends with him because they hang out on a regular basis, but whether they're actually friends, you know.
Yeah, they're just in the same room a lot of the time. Yeah. Next is Chris Evans as Lucas Lee.
Oh, I love this.
So this is kind of early in his career. We all know him as Captain America, but he made this, I think, right after he became Captain America, because I think Avengers was 2010 as well. But he goes way back to 2001's Not Another Teen Movie and the atrocity known as Fantastic Four. And right before Scott Pilgrim, he did The Losers, which is worth watching.
Oh, The Losers is good, yeah. It was right before Captain America, yeah. And it was right after Losers. And Push.
That's right, he did do Push, yeah.
Yes. Both those movies are good. So he had notoriety, but maybe not like big mainstream until he did Captain America. I mean, maybe there was a handful of people who watched Fantastic Four and remembered.
Yeah. But when this movie came out, people like you and I could watch it and go like, hey, it's that guy, you know? So I have one thing to talk that I really want to mention about Chris Evans, but I'm going to mention it in the what I liked section. So, but other things that I liked, I just like Lucas Lee. He's such an asshole. It's like when Michael Cera says, "You gonna do a thingy on those rails?" It's called a grind, bro. You know, and that awful clip from the movie when Wallace is watching TV. It's like, and he dials the phone with the gun, and he says, "All right, Bubbo," or Buckaroo, or whatever.
Something like that.
All right, the next thing you're gonna hear is 2 clicks. The first click is me hanging up this phone. The second click is you hitting the ground, or something like that. It's so bad, but I love it. He is so awful, but I love it. I love his accentuated eyebrows. I love his "I'm nothing without my stunt team."
Yes.
And when he's walking away, when his phone goes up and he's like,
that's actually hilarious.
Yeah, I love that. It's just, but you never know. It's just him in his own world, and
this character is a treat. This is a wonderful surprise. You do not expect this character to be in this movie.
Yeah.
And well, there's so much you don't expect about this movie, but especially him. And then he just happened, and that's what it is. He's a happening. He is a force, and you're just like, wow, that's awesome. His character is like such a force. I like when the stunt doubles come. The stunt doubles, all their voices are his voice.
And I really like when you want some coffee? No, negative, nada. That's great. And I really like Wallace going like, ask him how it feels to take a sloppy seconds, and he doesn't even finish it.
He finishes and he gets slapped over the face with a skateboard.
It's a great scene. Great scene.
It is. And then of course we gotta say this line when Wallace first comes up and goes, "I want to have his adopted babies."
That's great. All right, next is Brie Larson as Envy Adams. Brie Larson might be my actual favorite actress, and by that I mean she's my actual favorite actress. I don't even like her that much in Captain Marvel, but I mean what I mean by that is I didn't really like Captain Marvel, but I'll watch it anyway. I'm a fan. Scott Pilgrim was her first big movie, but she was in 21 Jump Street as Jonah Hill's love interest, the high schooler.
Yeah.
Right? She had a small role in The Spectacular Now. She was in Don John, the amazing Short Term 12, and Room.
Oh, yeah.
She had a brief stint on Community as Abed's girlfriend. She was in Kong Skull Island and Free Fire, which is a great movie. I am kind of convinced she can do no wrong. And Envy Adams is great. She's a dick. You just headbutted my boyfriend in the head so hard he burst. Yeah.
So, like, this character she is a shadow over the whole story. Mm-hmm. At the very beginning of the movie, there are hints and foreshadowing of her coming. Mm-hmm. Like, for a while, we don't even know her name.
Yeah, this is just band in the universe.
And then, like...
his ex-girlfriend.
Yeah. And then the band, too. The fact that she's in a mainstream band that everyone knows. But there was one scene where Scott's at his house and Wallace is there with a guy, and they're talking. And Scott was talking about his dream and this dream with Ramona, and then the guy,
Other Scott.
Other Scott pops up and goes, "Was this an envy related dream?"
We don't say the E word every year.
And it's like, wow, this random guy even knows the backstory
I think my favorite scene from her is her physical introduction in the movie, which is
on the phone.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
That is introduced flawlessly. Scott right in the frame, Scott right here, Wallace back here. The phone rings. It's right when Ramona broke up, I think. So he's a downer. And because Wallace is being like, you gotta call her. And then the phone rings. I got a feeling that's for you, guy. Like, very hopeful.
Oh, yeah.
And then he picks it up. And she goes, Scott. And he goes, Envy. And Wallace has that, oh shit. Like,
yeah.
That very serious. And his half goes black.
His half goes black. And it's the shadowy face of Envy.
Amazing lighting. Or transition to have that go black. And just to have her in shrouded, you know. That is really amazing. And it gives... I'm kind of getting chills talking about it now. Also a movie reference to that. Like, I just got chills.
Yes.
Like, I don't know. That transition is like... You write home about it to your movie friends.
So that scene... I mean, so I've watched this movie so many times. I can't tell you how many times I've actually seen it. Last night watching it, I noticed something for the first time watching that scene. Is as they're talking, in the background, there are like there are pictures. You know, pictures you get from like the cameras.
Yeah.
No. The cameras from like the camera booths, and they spit out the
yes.
on the wall.
That's right. Yeah.
There are pictures of Scott and
Envy. Yeah.
Well, no. What is he?
Nat.
Yeah. So that's the thing you gotta decipher is it's the same person, but it's different characters. Nat and Envy. And so in the background, she even looks different than Envy looks. Like her hair is a slightly different color.
Yeah.
She wears it a little different.
She changed her name. She changed her hair.
That's right. That's
and
what
then she decided she didn't like me anymore. Something like that. Oh, she decided she didn't like her name, and then she decided she didn't like me. Is the quote. Yeah, it's.
Yeah, and I don't know how I never noticed that, and I was like, oh shit, this is crazy.
Yeah.
And then I really like when she well, so you called that physically, but when she's first face to face with Scott in the movie
with the poster,
she's standing in front of a poster at right where her face is on the poster
and wearing the same things.
Yes.
And you know, just to use this as an example, you know, Brie Larson in Room is not even really the same acting as Brie Larson in Scott Pilgrim. Like, oh, I'm jealous. Like, it's so radically different of a character for her to play. She does a lot. She's really good at it. And then we have, of all people, this casting choice kind of surprised me the most. Brandon Routh as Envy's boyfriend and bassist Todd Ingram. Fucking Superman was in this movie. Now, I'm pretty sure everyone hated Superman Returns, but he is great in this. He's such an idiot and a dick. And kind of like to me, that's how you know an actor is worth their salt. They're willing to take a part that isn't flattering. It's not really a comparison, but I think the king of this is Harvey Keitel in Bad Lieutenant. Did you ever see that?
No.
Watch it. There is nothing flattering about him as an actor in that movie, and it's amazing. And it's kind of hard to watch.
The character? There's nothing flattering about the character.
Well, I mean, since he portrays the character, like, there's a moment where he's so depressed and drunk, he walks around naked and does, like, he just behaves very strangely. Okay. And, you know, I think a regular person would never want to willingly go on set and do that.
Okay.
Like I said, not really a comparison to this, but I think it's similar enough that my mind went there. But he's great. He punches the highlights.
You punched the highlights out of her hair.
It's man, it's like, and when Envy's, you're incorrigible. I don't know the meaning of the word.
He really doesn't.
Yeah. he has to explain why veganism gives you superpowers, and it's like,
because your brain is filled with curds and whey, I think he says.
I partake of neither the milk or the breast milk or the meat of anything with a face.
Or the ovum.
Or the ovum of anything with a face. Yeah, man.
And then envy is in the background. Being a vegan just makes you better than everybody else. And it's beautiful because at that time, people who were vegans, they were doing that. They were doing that because they felt that they were better than people. And yes, you could do it to save the animals, and nowadays people do it because of health reasons. So now it's not cool to do it because you think you're better than anyone. But at the time, like I said, it's another transition from one decade to another.
The only other thing I want to talk about with him is the bass battle.
Oh, yes.
Awesome.
So, go on.
Because Michael Cera already played bass, and he's already nerdy and weird. And Brandon Routh already played bass, so it was really cool. And they're both talented in their own different genres. Scott is a little more genre-based, but Todd is a little more technical. And melodic, and that was fun to watch that, but a little depressing because as a guitar person, I know Scott's guitar was a Rickenbacker. When it exploded, it made me sad a little bit. But anyway, it was really cool, but I feel like it could have been so much better because Scott did not play well at all, and Todd was spot on. Yes. He was so good in that. And it just felt like Scott was just like he couldn't even catch up. I kind of like that though, because they have 3 battles. The first one is a physical fight, where Scott was out of his league, so he lost. He tried to, things he knows about Todd. He's a fighter. He plays bass. He's vegan, so he's using all these things. So he tries physical and gets his ass kicked. He tries the bass because maybe Envy is dating a dude who's really not better than Scott. So he plays bass and loses. So he has to go for the vegan. No. Todd is an idiot.
So, and that's the thing. He is a psychic who is stupid.
Yes.
So,
yes. Dude, I could see in your mind's eye that you poured half and half into one of those cups. I'll take the one with soy. Like, it's but yeah, muchacho, I thought real hard about pouring the soy in this cup.
Yeah,
that's good. That's really, really good. Yeah.
So one thing, it's kind of not really out of topic. It's at the beginning of this, when Clash of Demon Head first starts playing. When Ramona and Scott are in the crowd, and that look that they have on their faces when they realize we dated that band up there. That look, those looks on their faces is just hilarious.
An interesting difference in the movie and the graphic novel is that Envy finds out that Todd is cheating on her with their the drummer, and they fight.
Cool.
That's part of that. Yeah, it was something I read, which is kind of cool. Yeah. Next we have. Did you have anything else?
No.
Next we have Mae Whitman as Roxy Richter. I know Mae from Arrested Development as George Michael's bland religious girlfriend Ann Veal. Or Egg.
I knew her. Oh yeah. I
hope she's funny.
I remember her most when I think of Parenthood.
Yes, which I never watched.
With her and Dax Shepard and a bunch of other names.
She's actually been in a lot of things, mostly Disney type stuff or like kid stuff. She's been in the business since '94. She was in Fillmore, which I watched, which is like a neo-noir Disney Channel show. Okay. It was like a detective school. As a kid who was a detective at school, and it was cool. She was in Johnny Bravo, American Dragon, Jake Long.
Oh.
The Perks of Being a Wallflower. Yeah. I kind of hate that movie. And you mentioned Parenthood.
There's another character I can't wait till I can't wait to start talking about who was in that movie.
Who? What movie? What?
Wasn't the guy who played young Neil in
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, she's fun. She's kind of whatever. She has some good lines. I kind of don't care about her.
Good lines? Are you kidding? She has amazing lines. Oh, crap. What's happening? So when he finds out that that Ramona dated her, I love that.
You had a sexy face?
You had a sexy face? And she just has so many of these, like, what was it? Oh yeah, so she was like, I was just a little bi-curious. And she goes, well, I'm a little bi-furious.
Yeah.
And then at one time she's like, all right, has-been.
Yeah. I think.
And the fact that her weapon is her belt, which is basically the sword from or Ivy's sword from Soul Calibur.
Oh yeah.
And that is so cool. That like Ramona has the hammer, and then she's got like the Ivy blade, if you will.
Yeah.
And that beginning of the fight is so freaking cool.
I think my favorite line from her is like when it's slow motion or it's like slowed down, and she goes, "Your boyfriend's about to get effed in the B."
No, your BF is about to get effed in the B.
The writing on this is stupidly ingenious, and
I almost feel like they had different people writing for different characters, because the characters are so unique. They did it.
Yeah, it's too good. It's too good. Yeah, she did a good job. I like it. Yeah, good job, man. Next is one of your favorite people, Aubrey Plaza as Julie Powers. I am really 50-50 on Aubrey Plaza. She's exceptionally great in Parks and Rec and Scott Pilgrim.
Yeah.
And I liked Safety Not Guaranteed. But except for those and Mike and Dave Need Wedding Dates with Zac Efron and Anna Kendrick, she's picked some awful projects. I get the impression I wouldn't get along with her in real life. I think like she's just a weird girl whose shtick is being offensive because boys are offensive and get away with it, so I can too. So now she's just... Yeah. But anyway, she does a good job in this movie. And everything she does is gold. Like, how are you doing that with your mouth? Never the fuck are you mouth.
Yeah, right?
All that is... I don't know if that's in the graphic novel or not. But whoever came up with that needs a raise.
That's again where like each character bends reality to their own liking because of their personality. and that's another part which makes this movie magical. She edits her own self in reality, and no one knows how she and people can physically see the bleep bar over top of her mouth. How does
decaf
that
coffee for fucking Pilgrim. And I like how, that also could play into a little of kind of alternating reality at the house party. When Scott is asking around about Ramona, and he discovers that Julie Powers knows Ramona, and she gets angry. She's like, I told you to stay away from her, and like the whole party goes dark except for her.
Oh, yes.
That now that we're talking about it, could very well be just her being like, focus on me. I'm serious. I would not be surprised if that was an actual thing.
Everybody has superpowers in this.
Everybody. Except Steven Stills.
I don't know. The amount of... I've never seen someone worry as much as him. That's a superpower, man.
Oh, man. Next, we have Johnny Simmons as young Neil. I know him as the kid in 21 Jump Street who dies from overdosing on the drug in the movie.
Oh, that's right. He's on the YouTube video.
Yes. Apparently, he's also in Jennifer's Body, which I haven't seen, but I know you like that movie, so I wrote it down.
I love that movie.
He's also in Perks of Being a Wallflower. Fuck that movie. Oh, and he's in Girl Boss, the Netflix show, which I actually like. It's a decent show.
I have no clue what that is.
It's about a girl who starts an online store of selling thrift stuff online as like vintage stuff. It's pretty good. She's kind of a slacker, but she starts her own small business. It's pretty cool.
Okay.
Yeah, but I love young Neil. You know, from the get-go, he's like, yeah, she seems awesome. Or like, when Knives is at practice, she's like, what do you play? And he goes,
now that's the question.
Yeah, like, he's like a Zelda...
Tetris.
Tetris. And he does... That's kind of a big question. Like,
Yes.
like, he's so dumb. And I love
Not dumb. It's he's in a different world.
Well,
and that
obtuse.
Well, I mean, no, that kind of talks about like some gamers are like in their own world, and that's what it is. He's in his own world. So when she asked him a question, like to other people, they view it as something else. Mm-hmm. But here's the thing: it's not like he. You could ask that question to somebody who is a gamer in a different context, and it wouldn't be misconstrued. So it's a perception. Right. This guy perceives the world in a different way. Like the whole like the whole hi, I'm Neil. Like, Neil can play your parts. Yeah. Hi, I'm Neil.
Well, and I just realized also with the perception thing, you know, he is sitting there playing with his DS. Or is it an SP? Maybe I can't.
One of those, yeah. One of the
But he's toying with it. So like, what do you play? Like, oh, she's referencing the thing in my hands. I get that. But I also love like he's into the musical. He enjoys it, but he's not as involved as you would otherwise believe. If not for one moment in this movie, at one of their shows,
they're playing the garbage truck,
and he says the wrong word.
But all it is, he goes, oh no, but the word is oh my.
Yeah.
And he's oh my.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually really like that moment with him.
Me too.
It's a good bit of fun. Now, as far as the cast goes, last and not least, the voice that narrates every so often is none other than Bill Hader.
Oh, that's right.
Yes. And this man is a comedy genius. I love everything I see him in. I would watch him do interviews for the rest of my life, and I would be fine. Yeah, he's great. He's great. I can't say enough about him, really. His lines are pretty great. Scott is acutely aware that his last haircut was 365 days, whatever.
Yes.
Yeah.
The whole narration when he was first talking about envy to Ramona. Yeah.
Yeah. It was mutual. It wasn't. It was brutal. Like,
yeah.
One thing I really like about it though is that I feel weird calling it narration because it's not. Because it's not properly narrating the narrative. I like that he's called the voice in the credits because he's just in there from time to time. He adds little things as a voice.
He's backstory that we as the viewer would not get any other way.
Yeah. All right, that wraps it up for cast. That was like a 40-minute segment. We're going to move on to what I disliked.
You talk first, because I still need to kind of think about this a little bit.
Okay, what I disliked. The first fight with Matthew Patel is a little cringy at times. But that's, when he does some weird sorcery, whatever, it gets a little weird. but it's supposed to be cringy. Everyone in the movie that's not Matthew Patel has my reaction to this. What? So I disliked it. It was weird, but I feel like I also have to let it slide because it's supposed to be that way. And everyone agrees with me. So
it is really weird, but that kind of goes, I don't know if we I think we said this earlier, but just like how there are different parts of the movie that really, you're not sure if they really fit in, but because they're so out there, one of them being Matthew Patel with his singing demon hipster chicks. And kind of like this, and the whole, are you a pirate?
Pirates are in this season.
And it's just like, yeah, it is really weird, but I'm so glad that was one of the first fights, because it made me go, what the fuck? But it was one of those, what the fuck, I need to see what's going to happen next. So,
yeah.
So, no, I understand, because it is weird and awkward, and he's kind of doing this whole Bollywood type, so yeah, it's kind of racist too, but,
I did think about that as I was watching the movie. Yeah, I wondered, but who cares?
So I mentioned it before. I feel like the bass battle could have been one of the best scenes in the whole movie if Scott did a lot better. Yeah, that was when I first watched the movie. That was definitely. I mean, I've enjoyed it the more I watched it. But the first time I watched it, I was like, no, this could have been like
Epic.
a scene that would live in your memory forever. And
Yeah.
but yeah, and so, and then there's one other scene that I find really weird, and it goes along with that, like, it just feels misplaced, and it's after what is it? I think after he Ramona agrees to go on a date with him, or after his first date, where they
Go to the movie thing?
No. Oh, I guess that was where he spends the night at her place.
Okay.
And he comes back home, and he's talking to Wallace, but the whole thing is like a sitcom where it's got the laugh tracks and everything.
Bit, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was like, I don't know. This is, why are they doing this? But watching it last night, I was like, it doesn't bother me as much as it did when I first watched it. But yeah, and that was the other thing. I was trying to think of this last night, like what I didn't like about the movie. There is very little I do not, or that I dislike about it. It is such a good movie.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
I feel that way about all of Edgar Wright's movies. I don't know if there's much that I dislike about any of them. They're just so well put together. Like he's been a pro from the start, and it shows over the 15 plus years he's been in business. I mean, Shaun of the Dead was 15 years ago, so yeah, it was longer than that, probably 20. So that's what we disliked. Now, what I liked, from second one, I love the commitment to how weird this movie is going to be with and to video game lore with the 8-bit Universal theme.
Yes.
That is great. Okay. I love that Universal was fine with it. Yeah, it's great. It's great. Narration by Bill Hader, always good. The editing and visual style is pretty fantastic. There's lots of little visual cues, like everyone's character introductions at the beginning of the movie. Julie's censored mouth. You have Scott's pee bar.
Yes, pee bar, yeah.
And visual effects like when they kiss and like little hearts. Yeah. Stuff like that. Scott and the power of respect, and I'm getting a life. And there's just so many great visual moments like that. They're just like mental moments of, I get it. But they, it all adds up to to help this great thing. You know, and a lot of it is just stuff like the thunk and comic book things that pop up on screen.
Yeah.
And in any other movie, it would be weird. But in Scott Pilgrim, it's expected almost. Like, you know, it's, you know, yeah. I love the humor. It's amazing. The humor in this is so kind of as off the wall as you can get.
That's why I love it. It matches up with my own personal humor so well.
I like when Scott has, you know, they ask him a question. Scott, do you know that girl? And that wheel spins above his head. It's like, I have to go and I have to pee. It's like, I have to pee on her. And or I have to go, or I don't know her, or whatever is. No,
I have to pee,
and I don't know her,
and I don't know
yeah,
her.
I have to pee. Yeah, that's what it is. I thought you were gonna
So
say
yeah, are you done with what you like?
with that, just that specific one.
No, keep going.
Okay. The soundtrack
Yes. Oh,
is amazing.
so good.
It is amazing. I love that they put out a full soundtrack that has songs that are in the movie. Mm-hmm. And when this movie came out, I was talking about the soundtrack to someone else. I think it was one of the dudes from At Face Value. Mm-hmm. And I mentioned a song that he didn't know. Mm-hmm. Because I had gotten an extended play, like a 2-disc version that I did not know, other people did not have. So I burned him a copy of that. Mm-hmm. And that was really cool. Like they made more than one version of it, like an extended one and then just like the essentials or whatever.
I think the only movie that I can think of that has had a soundtrack that like rivals this is Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
That is a great soundtrack too.
Oh my gosh, that one's amazing too.
Yeah.
And yeah.
There are video game nods all over the place. We kind of mentioned that with like the Zelda thing and whatnot, but like when he goes into the subspace dream realm, that's Zelda.
It's Zelda when you go into one of the fairy caves.
Yeah,
and, yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's great. I love the scene transitions. They're super different, very original. I like how sometimes the cuts are mid-discussion when Scott is like distracted. Mm-hmm. The night after the party, mm-hmm. Scott goes to bed, and then what does he do? He doesn't go to bed, but like it's on Wallace. It's nighttime, and then in an instant it's daytime, and it cuts, and Scott is at the computer. What's the web address for Amazon.ca?
Amazon.ca.
But that's a really cool transition. It's just so simple, and it's daytime. Like it's when they go on a date and he invites her, or when he sleeps over and the next morning invites her to the show, mm-hmm. and it's like,
where is it?
It's at the rocket pops up on the screen.
Yeah,
that's good. Mm-hmm. It's good. I like that. Some of my favorite transitions anyway. I love that the vegan police are Tom Jane, the fucking Punisher.
Okay, I always see it and I go, why is he familiar? And I never find anything that looks familiar on IMDb when I look it up.
I also just now remembered he's also in Arrested Development for a couple episodes. He's the Wrench. He's an actor who plays the detective known as the Wrench. Tobias's wife tries to date him or something because she thinks he's like a real detective. Yeah, and the other guy is Clifton Collins Jr., who I only know from Westworld. He kind of looks like Rob Schneider a little bit.
He does look a lot. He looks like a less weird-looking Rob Schneider.
Yes, he does. But if you watch Westworld, he is Lewis, I think is his name. Okay. The dude that the Man in Black kidnaps. I love the little subtle numbers that appear before each evil X. 1 through 7. That's a lot of fun. I'm still discovering new ones when I watch it.
Yeah,
that's kind of fun.
That was my problem watching it last night. I got caught up in all of the lines, so my face was in my notebook writing stuff down as opposed to like watching it. So I would have to like force myself to just like watch. It's like, oh, there's something, you know.
Well, some of them are really hidden. Some of them really, like, I think I've only seen... 4 is obvious. It's the number of the building before Roxy shows up. Mm-hmm. There's, when Lucas Lee does his thing, there's 2 X's on either side of the street when they cross. That's the new one I've noticed. And I can't remember the other ones. I love when Lucas Lee exits his trailer. Mm-hmm. This is the one I wanted to mention. And the Universal theme plays, and he cracks his neck to that da da. Oh. That is really
that
good.
Is really
And when Scott Pilgrim says when Wallace Wells gave him Escape, he goes, "Hi, big fan." He goes, "Why wouldn't you be?" And this one is a little more subtle. I like a lot that Scott Pilgrim wears a Scott Pilgrim shirt in the beginning of the movie, and in the third act when he's about to fight Gideon Graves.
He has the heart.
Yeah,
shirt.
The heart Scott Pilgrim shirt. Yeah, those are the ones I got. Mm-hmm. What about you?
Favorite things about this. There's just like the lines, man. Like some of the lines and some of like the real quick lines. So after Scott and Ramona break up and Scott's talking to his sister goes, she goes, "So did you see a future with her?" And he goes, "You mean like jetpacks?" I was like, what? That is amazing. And then there's there's a scene where what was it? He was telling somebody that he dated knives. Oh, it was right after the Clash at the Demon Head, and they're walking through that club, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I used to date her. Oh yeah, we're all peaches and gravy." Yeah. and that, and then he walks by her, and she goes, "No."
I love all of that. It's so good.
And then I mean, I love the fight scenes, man. They are so off the wall and different. And then the best one, I have to say, Amp versus Amp. Yeah. The Yagi, was it not Yagi? Kadianagi twins. And they start playing, and then they're fighting with their avatars. I mean, what? And the scene itself is just crazy. The twins have a wall of amps, and I love their like spirit animal, or I called it an avatar before, of like the Yeti, and it's like a rough looking Yeti. He's like not real pretty. He's just kind of like ugly, but not like, he's like, I don't know. I guess he is scary. I was gonna say he wasn't scary, but he's kind of scary looking. But yeah, that is so cool. And then, like when they beat them, the initial, they blew the roof off. or what was it?
Yeah, I think they blew the roof off.
Yeah,
I think my 2 favorite things about that scene are I don't really like the song Threshold on its own, but it's perfect for that scene. Oh, I love just the energy and the anger in it. And I love how the scene, how that voices, like it's good, it's great. Yeah. I love it. But also I love when it first opens to that scene in general, and they're outside, is like Amp versus Amp is like, this poster needs more
exclamation marks. Who's going on first? Yeah. I think you're both first.
That's not possible. And then on screen it's like, actually, it isn't. Alright, now this might be part of your time to shine. This section is called Great Moments or Great Quotes, mostly great quotes.
Haven't I said them all yet?
Not all of them. We're missing some. How about this one? Break out the L word.
Oh, yes. All right, Scott, the L word. Lesbian? No, the other one. Lesbians? I wasn't trying to trick you, Scott.
Also, in that scene, it's when he's like hugging the fridge and he's like, you know what sucks?
And
Everything. And he puts the sideways 8 up there. Yes.
he writes sucks and then infinite sign underneath the sucks.
It took me, I think 3 or 4 watches to get that joke, I think, to notice it, to notice what he was doing. And then, how are you doing that with your mouth?
How are you doing that? Yeah.
And then when Scott's like, why don't, you said this to me before, but when Scott says, why don't we play our own secret show? And Kim goes,
all of our shows are secret shows.
and then I already said, a gig is a gig is a gig is a gig.
Mm-hmm.
That's really great. We need our own stalker. Then it cuts and it looks and Knives is there and it says stalker.
Yes. I really like so when we were talking about this before when he was talking to why did I just draw a blank? His roommate Wallace, yeah. And he goes, I don't make the gay rules. If you have any problems, take it up with Liberace's ghost. And then of course new girlfriend.
It's Lucas Lee. He was a pretty good actor. Now he was a pretty good skater. Now he's a pretty good actor. I'm stalking him later.
Which one? Anything from Wallace. Like basically, there was. I think it was the second.
It's when he's at the school picking up knives. Do you want to know who's gay in my class? Yes. Does he wear glasses? Like.
Bye, Wallace. Bye.
Run. You're too good for him.
Yes, that one. Oh man. Let's see.
So
there was. I like. I forget if it was with Lucas Lee or if it was with Matthew Patel. It was Matthew Patel. He goes, Scott, watch out! It's that guy.
Yeah. Yeah, that is Lucas Lee, yeah.
No, that's Matthew Patel.
Yeah. It's that one guy. But with Lucas Lee, it's like, Scott, fight, whatever. or something like that. And he drinks coffee.
Yeah. Let's see. Oh yeah, I didn't write the one down for Lucas Lee. Oh, he was drinking something when he was
Yeah, he's like
and
fight,
and he kind of raises his other hand that doesn't have a drink in it.
Yeah.
Oh man.
You know what? Here's something retroactively. I'm kind of retconning here. Something else I disliked, but not that I disliked. It's just that I kind of didn't care. Was the background on all the evil exes? I didn't care about those sequences. You know, talking about Matthew Patel punched a hole in the moon or whatever. Those bits, they were kind of goofy, but that's not what I'm watching this movie for.
I don't know. I think it kind of they were important because they kind of showed the frivolousness of all of her past relationships. And that's why they were all cartoons, except for the backstory of Gideon, which was just kind of in the background behind her talking, just the floating ghost head of him.
Yeah.
But yeah, I noticed that last night. I was like, everyone else were little cartoons, except for Gideon.
Yeah.
But no, I did like those. He punched a hole in the moon for me. Or the other one, we brawled and we scrapped till we were tired or something like that.
Scott Pilgrim is a young nerd's dream. Meant for people like you and myself. People who enjoy fun video game nonsense, but it delivers on a really good product that really could be for anybody under the age of 35.
Well, and that's the important part, that it's not just for like video game enthusiasts, because or people who are like hardcore into video games. Like, it brings in the world of music and comic books and video games, and it creates this medium, this place where all three can come together and just enjoy themselves.
Which is really what movies are for. that great, and I think the point of this podcast is, like, let's talk about ideally the perfect culmination of writing, music, and cinematography. This thing kind of does that. Like, it really does. But if you're over 35, I don't think you're going to like this movie. I think most of those are a little too old for references, and I think the style, like, this is when Facebook was getting big. So, like, this is too much, like, I don't understand this darn technology. Not that they're that old, but I think I'm just old enough to love this movie, which is kind of sad.
I'm older than you.
Huh?
I'm older than you, and I love this movie.
Right, you're in that window,
Okay,
though. Like,
okay.
I'm just above the too young thing, I think.
Oh.
It was made for a certain time. Like Clerks. Clerks is one of those great movies. I don't like Clerks. It wasn't made for me. It wasn't. It's too before me. I don't get.
But then Dogma's great.
Fucking love Dogma. It's so good. It's so good. But that's later in Kevin Smith's career. Clerks was like, was that like 1993 or something? Like, that was right when skating was happening, and digital video and all. This was a new, different era. But I think Scott Pilgrim is like that as well. I think it has a very specific audience. It's so hyper stylized, and I think it came out at the perfect time. Like I was saying earlier, I'm not certain that it would be made today and be as good. I don't think so. So I'm happy it came out when it did. Yeah.
Like I said, it was kind of like an homage to the early 2000s.
Yeah.
And it had it all in there.
Yeah.
Yep.
Brian, thanks for being on the show.
Thanks for having me.
It's been a blast discussing this awesome movie.
Amazing movie.
Yes. For all you listeners at home, don't forget, who's not listening to this at home, you can reply to this podcast with a voice message if you have the Anchor app, or you can send me an email at movielovershow@gmail.com if you want to request a movie be discussed, or hey, maybe even co-host an episode if you have Anchor, because that's how I do this thing. Either way, you'll probably wind up on the next episode of Movie Lover 22. Say goodbye, Brian.
Bye, Brian.